Ever wondered what road in North America is the widest? Well, if you're ever in New York City, why not check out West 120th Street? What makes this road so wide? Well, it's the dividing line between Teachers College at Columbia University and the rest of the university campus. Now, you've probably guessed that I'm not referring to a literal width, but I am talking about a vast gulf in terms of philosophy. In fact, education faculties are at the root of many of the biggest problems with public schools today. You see, education faculties are very different from other university faculties. In other departments, instruction revolves around the subject matter. Math departments expect their students to solve complicated math problems. History departments require students to know key historical events in their field. And biology departments make students memorize an awful lot of anatomy. However, things are quite different in education faculties. There, students learn that course content isn't really that important, and subject matter knowledge doesn't mean a whole lot. This, of course, leads to some understandable conflict with professors from other faculties who don't share this bizarre view. The professional chasm between mathematicians and math education professors is an example. While many people assume that these two groups work closely together in designing provincial curricula and writing approved textbooks, the reality is quite different. Despite vigorous protests from mathematicians, math education professors regularly promote teaching methods that make it harder for students to acquire the math skills they need. Instead of making sure students memorize their math facts and learn standard math algorithms, math education professors tell prospective teachers to let students invent their own ways of solving math problems. While math education professors claim they have research evidence to back up their position, an examination of this research finds that it suffers from fatal design flaws such as small sample sizes, lack of proper control groups, and flawed research methodologies. A similar professional gulf exists with other fields. For example, students in education faculties take courses in educational psychology, where they learn about Howard Gardner's theory of multiple intelligences. Essentially, multiple intelligences theory rejects the traditional emphasis on a general intelligence factor and proposes instead that human intelligence can be divided into 8 separate categories. Advocates of this theory believe it is wrong to place too much emphasis on any one intelligence, especially when it leads to the exclusion of other intelligences. Gardner's multiple intelligence theory is accepted as gospel within faculties of education. Education professors append many books and articles about how to apply multiple intelligences theory in the classroom. For example, to help students master their grammar, Thomas Armstrong recommends strategies such as getting students to form punctuation marks with their bodies. That's for bodily kinesthetic intelligence. Giving each punctuation mark a distinctive sound for musical intelligence. And assigning an animal to each punctuation mark for naturalist intelligence. However, multiple intelligences theory is not widely accepted among psychologists outside of education faculties. Daniel Willingham, a cognitive psychologist at the University of Virginia, notes that Gardner's theory lacks empirical support. In fact, all it really does is reclassify talents and abilities as intelligences. As a result, most psychologists view multiple intelligences as an interesting but misguided theory. Once again, the gap between education faculties and other faculties looms large. Even when we look at the field of education itself, education faculties promote theories that fly in the face of their own research. Examples include the adoption of the whole language theory for teaching reading, a de-emphasis on direct instruction, and disciplinary techniques that fail to maintain order in the classroom. It should come as little surprise that John Hattie, an education professor at the University of Melbourne in Australia, who has reviewed hundreds of research studies about teaching and learning, describes education as an immature profession that often ignores research contradicting its preferred ideology. Earlier, I mentioned that the widest street is 120th Street between Columbia Teachers College and the rest of Columbia University. However, I could just as easily have referred to any other university and its education faculty, since this philosophical gulf looms just as large throughout the continent. It's time we make that gulf a lot smaller. Until we do, education faculties will continue miseducating our future teachers. It's all about the kids. How many times have you heard that phrase? Probably more times than you can remember, particularly when education is the topic. That's because virtually everyone who works in public education gives lip service to the idea that students must always come first. When everything is a priority, nothing is a priority. Nowhere does this expression hold true more than in our public schools. Although the length of the school day has remained essentially unchanged for the last few decades, the same cannot be said about the expectations placed upon classroom teachers.